Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can. Spins a web in his something, something, something. I don't know the lyrics. Look out. Here comes the Spider-Man. Is it Tom Holland or Andrew Garfield? Maybe it's Tobey Maguire to make everyone happy. I don't know, can Sony pull it off? Does Marvel want to figure out the multiverse for just this specific film? It finally happened. Spider-Man No Way Home trailer. It got released after a slight leak. Then it got released, and we'll get into that in a bit, but I thought I would just talk about the trailer since I did so many videos just hyping up the fact that the trailer hadn't been released. I was wondering if it was going to get pushed back, if something else was going on, and they finally came out Monday. It actually came out while I was at the Hella Mega Tour, so that kind of sucked, because between Fall Out Boy and Green Day, I basically just watched it off of my phone, and I couldn't really hear it, but what was kind of great was that I was watching the Twitter version, which decided to add these subtitles, but they were like animations across the screen, and usually that would have bugged me because I'm like, wow, it's not even like an option for us to turn it off. But because I couldn't hear anything at the stadium, it actually kind of worked out. So, you know what, never mind. Maybe they should do that for all the trailers. Maybe they should just do that for all of media, I don't know. But the trailer, it came out, and it was fantastic. It was amazing, as they would say, an amazing Spider-Man. People seemed very happy with it. I think a lot of people were given a lot of surprises they didn't see coming, and I think a lot of people who had been following up on this film for quite a while saw a lot of it coming. I've been watching Cosmic Wonder, a YouTube channel, and he produces some great content, just about upcoming films and such. But if there's anything this trailer proved to me, it's that maybe I shouldn't be watching his videos too much because they almost got too much of this right. I think a lot of people have been hyping up the fact that possibly Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire would be in it. I've even been discussing that for a while. I may have even been discussing that a couple years ago when, I know on the podcast I at least mentioned it a couple times and thought this would be a money-making idea. I don't know if they could pull it off. I don't know if they could be able to pay Tobey Maguire what he would want just to be in it for I don't know how much time he would be in it, but they could pull it off. And as things started to move along, there were reports that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were in it, on top of the fact that Emma Stone was apparently cast in it. I don't know if I really ever heard much about Kristen Dunst, but it can be assumed that she probably has a part in it as well, if the rest of them do. And then Jamie Foxx basically spilled the beans that he was in the film and had to delete that on Instagram. Alfred Molina was in an interview and basically spilled the beans about the multiverse because he was saying his character would be coming immediately out of Spider-Man 2 and that they would be de-aging him. If they had to de-age, because, there's this idea that maybe they were just casting the characters the same way J. Jonah Jameson was, just cast again by, J.K. Simmons was put in the role again. It might have been something like that, where he's just a different version of the character, but the same actor. But no, they specifically de-aged Alfred Molina, so why would they have to do that unless they are actually trying to connect it to the previous films? And then he basically said it as well. Then there were other reports that, like Willem Dafoe was connected to it, that with the upcoming Venom sequel and Morbius, which Morbius even had something in its trailer that connected both Michael Keaton's Vulture from Spider-Man Homecoming and had a poster on one of the alley walls that was Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. The idea was that maybe all these characters were going to start being connected in the Sonyverse, but also would be connected to the overall Marvel Cinematic Multiverse. And then with that Loki finale, it seems like everything is starting to kind of come together. That obviously Marvel wants to make all the films that weren't part of the MCU, all the films that came out before it, some of the films that maybe came out during it, to make them all multiverse movies, especially since Disney owns a big chunk of them now, having gotten the rights to the X-Men films, the Fantastic Four films, and those characters themselves. So I think in the end, that is a plan that makes the most sense to kind of make all those movies worth it. Even not just the Spider-Man and X-Men and Fantastic Four films, but even just on top of all that, some of the other films they could maybe make deals for, like some of the Punisher films, some of the Blade films that they don't own the rights to, the Ghost Rider films with Nicolas Cage and even Howard the Duck. I mean, you could technically make all of those films multiverse movies, and I don't know if they'll go to that much work, but they could in theory. And I think they're starting to kind of nail that idea down with this Spider-Man film. Now, nothing was confirmed, but once this trailer came out and a lot of the initial plot, like leaks or at least ideas or things that were randomly being posted on the internet, kind of were confirmed. It pretty much means that, yeah, Toby and Andrew are coming back. I'd be shocked at this point if they're not. The trailer had quite a bit. It was considered a teaser trailer, but I don't even know if I would call it a teaser trailer. It really kind of shows where the plot's going to be headed. Things are starting pretty much immediately after Far From Home, where Mysterio in the after credits sequence revealed to the world that Peter Parker was Spider-Man's alter ego. Spider-Man is Peter Parker. So everyone now knows that he killed Mysterio, even though Mysterio technically framed him. I mean, not even technically. I mean, he actually framed him. So everyone is blaming him for the death of Mysterio. We've already seen some leaked images where there's like Mysterio sympathizers, and basically he's gonna be put on trial. I mean, it kind of seems like people are being interrogated. Peter's being interrogated. We get a man in a white suit that looks a lot like the white suit that Matt Murdock wore in Daredevil. So there's been a lot of comments out there that Charlie Cox is in the film, with almost nothing to actually confirm that. But this trailer had that, character's body shown, and everyone was thinking, oh, maybe that's Charlie Cox. Possibly. The difficulty of that is that basically by having Charlie Cox in that, it would mean all the Netflix shows are canon, which I don't know if Marvel wants to do at the moment. They seem a little wishy-washy on it, don't want to really confirm one way or another, but this would at least confirm it. And if anything, they could still just consider everything to be multiverse films or television shows. So it could, in the end, make sense for Matt Murdock to show up. Now, if it's actually him, I guess we'll find out. But I feel like with everything else that was basically confirmed with this trailer that's been talked about for months, I feel like he probably is in the film. As we go along in the trailer, though, things kind of start out slow. He's just having a horrible year, and we know that some of the film takes place during Christmas. Some of the scenes were shot in the winter, and we also see a lot of fall. So it's like this is a later in the year film, and it might take over the course of several months. But it's definitely right after Far From Home. Basically, he goes to Doctor Strange to ask for help. Now, it's snowing in Doctor Strange's house, and I don't really seem to know why. I figured, my immediate thought was, well, didn't Hulk, smash through the roof a couple years ago? Maybe Wong just never fixed it. And by the time Doctor Strange came back and just saw it still wasn't fixed, he was like, whatever, I don't care. It's funny because they have a guy in there in the trailer, if you look really quick. As soon as Peter enters the house, there's actually a guy to the left that's shoveling, but he's not, he's not one of the characters that we know anything about. So as to why they are there and shoveling, maybe Doctor Strange just enlisted them to do it. Maybe he's an upcoming wizard. I don't know. But basically, Peter asks for Doctor Strange's help, and for some reason, he's very easygoing with this idea. I know a lot of people have been saying, oh, Doctor Strange would never do this, especially after Wong tells him not to do it, and then Wong leaves to go on some kind of vacation, probably to go fight Abomination and Shang-Chi, probably. But he's leaving, so Doctor Strange is on his own, and he decides to do the spell anyway, even though Wong warned him not to. A lot of people have said that's out of character for Doctor Strange. Well, one, go rewatch the first Doctor Strange. It's actually not out of character. Doctor Strange does a lot of risky things. He bet the whole universe on one instance out of 14 million. The guy is kind of a risky dude. I mean, even after the Sorcerer Supreme died, immediately after he was kind of criticizing her for using the dark magic, right, I mean, that all happened, and then she died. He still used the Time Stone, even though he wasn't supposed to. So this dude's been constantly breaking rules, and sometimes it turns out good for him, and sometimes it doesn't. So I think that's kind of in character for him to be like, nah, screw Wong, we're going to try this out. Let's give it a roll. I'm smart, I can do this. That's been his whole character since the beginning. And also, characters need to make mistakes. Can't really have movies if characters aren't making mistakes. But people have also been saying that possibly it's not Mysterio, but some imposter, which is, another possibility. This is definitely taking some of the more popular or controversial Spider-Man storylines, especially the one where he made a deal with Mephisto or the Devil to basically erase his anybody knowing that he was ever Peter Parker. Spider-Man did, so he could just kind of clear the past couple of years of his life. I think it was One Day More was the name of that comic book, which was very controversial. they seem to be taking a lot of elements from that, but maybe not including Mephisto. But people have still been on the whole Mephisto thing. Ever since WandaVision, people have wanted to see Mephisto. So possibly, maybe Doctor Strange is actually Mephisto. I don't know. But after that, after they tried to do the spell, Peter freaks out and is like, well, wait a minute. I want MJ to remember me. I want, Aunt May to remember me. I want Ned to remember me, and pretty much messes up the spell. Or at least we're led to believe that. People have also been suggesting that maybe this is the moment that the multiverse breaks when it appears in Loki. People are already tying that scene in Loki to a scene in WandaVision when Wanda, who was like in a different, like her spiritual form or whatever, her, I forgot the term that Doctor Strange used, but basically it's like her ghostly appearance, I guess, when she was like studying that Hex book. She suddenly hears her children. People thought that's when the multiverse breaks, and that scene is actually matching up with the finale of Loki when the multiverse breaks. Possibly. But the director also said that the scenes don't connect. But people have already been connecting those scenes now to this scene when Doctor Strange attempts to do this spell and everything goes to crap. So possibly it's not really Peter's fault, but actually the multiverse just happened to be breaking in that moment, and along with the spell, screws everything up. I heard a leak a while ago that basically Doctor Strange was locking up all the villains after the multiverse had broken. So some people have been suggesting that this is taking place actually after Loki and not during Loki. Which I guess I don't know exactly about any of those ideas, but possibly that's what it, but they don't seem to be leading in that direction with this trailer. But again, things kind of move along quickly to the Doctor Strange stuff, where I feel like there's a lot going on between that and what we see at the beginning of the trailer. But anyway, after that, we start to see a lot of the scenes we kind of saw in Doctor Strange, where there's a lot of world melding and bending and crap like that. And then we see a lot of appearances from different villains. One of them is definitely Electro, just from the shock of lightning. One of them, people have been suggesting, is Sandman, because there's a big dust cloud. And, it could be... The only reason I feel a little off about that is because I've heard nothing about Thomas Hayden Church being in this film. And I would assume they would use his character. And it would kind of make sense because... I also heard that the Lizard's in this film, and the Lizard actually, it looks like it's the Lizard from a scene where something kind of scares Peter from the back, and it looks like it's in the glass cage. It also looks like that scene takes place at the same place in time when he goes and gets the spell done by Doctor Strange. So I'm wondering if that actually takes place in that same location. But people have been suggesting that's the Lizard from The Amazing Spider-Man. I would totally buy that because... It would make sense to me, especially since you wouldn't have to really get that original actor back. Because I also didn't hear that actor was coming back, but you wouldn't need him because that character is completely CG. So that could possibly be that character, and I think it is just from that outline that we saw. It's a very darkly lit scene, but it definitely kind of looks like there's a tail in there. So it's probably the Lizard. And if that's the Lizard, then we already have confirmed that Doc Ock is back, Alfred Molina, and that Jamie Foxx is back from Amazing Spider-Man 2, and that a lot of reports were saying Willem Dafoe was back as Green Goblin. It makes sense that the Sandman would be in it, because that would be one villain from every single Spider-Man film that had come before. And if we get the Vulture in there from Homecoming, which I'm not quite sure if he would show up because he was kind of a good guy at the end of Homecoming. So possibly it would be Scorpion, because Scorpion was kind of built up in that after credits scene. And then I think Mysterio would come back from Far From Home. So there, you would have a villain from every film, and then you would just basically... yeah, that would be 6 in total, yeah. So I've been kind of... Yeah, that would be 6. Sorry, now I'm just running the numbers through my head, because basically you would get a villain from every single Spider-Man film. But people have been suggesting that's the Sandman, and the only reason I didn't think it was because of Thomas Hayden Church. I just haven't heard much about him being in the film, and I would assume it's him, but maybe they recast it. But after that, we get some more prominent stuff. We see a pumpkin bomb, and the pumpkin bomb looks very much like it comes from the Raimi films, and we hear a laugh in the background that sounds eerily familiar. It sounds very much like Willem Dafoe. I'd be kind of shocked if it's not. And Willem Dafoe has been asked about in interviews, and he won't really say no that he's not in it. It made sense that they showed Alfred Molina at the end, which was really cool. He was de-aged, but he did look a lot like he did in Spider-Man 2, and it was really taking me back. I was still like shocked by just how good it looked. I was kind of wondering if it would be a little awkward, and even with the film itself, it may still feel a bit awkward because he is a lot older, and there's just something about de-aging technology where it's not as seamless as I wish it could be at this point, and I don't know if it's going to maybe take me out of the film a little bit, but from that trailer, it looked very good. And you got to think that that's at a point where it's not 100% finished. They're still working on it. So that was a great moment. He says, "Hello, Peter." A lot of people have been suggesting, well, he says "Hello, Peter," but he doesn't know who Tom Holland is, so he must be saying it to Toby. I buy that theory. I also would probably think he could just tell anybody who's dressed up as Spider-Man that they're Peter Parker, because he knows Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and maybe he doesn't really know 100% the difference between Tom Holland's Spider-Man suit and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man suit, but honestly, it makes more sense that it's probably Peter. Yeah, it's Peter. It probably makes sense that's Toby. And it would be a great chance for them to have a rematch. I also have heard that there's going to be a lot of matches between characters from one film versus another. Like, Tom Holland takes on Electro. Andrew Garfield takes on one of the characters from the Raimi universe. And maybe Tobey Maguire takes on a character from the new films. But I definitely think there's just some classic meetups that we have to see again. I would love to see a rematch between Toby and Green Goblin. That Green Goblin, but also Doc Ock for sure, given that that was probably his greatest adversary, and they had some of the best, just relationships from villains and heroes. I guess if we go down through the villains because basically they're setting up the Sinister Six. That's what they're doing. Sony has wanted their Sinister Six film for years, and I wouldn't be shocked if that's what they spin off from this, and that they're starting to connect all of their Spider-Man films, and maybe Marvel is allowing it because maybe they're going to have a hand in making sure that the Sinister Six is actually a good movie. But it's the Sinister Six that they're doing. But who are going to be the six villains? Well, we know Electro's in it, and we know Doc Ock's in it, and now we know that Green Goblin's in it. If he's going to be played by Willem Dafoe, 99% sure it's going to be him. And then we also would have the Lizard, which it seems prominent enough in the trailer. It really seems like it's him. Some people have been suggesting it's Venom, but I think it's more than likely the Lizard. I don't think they'll deal with Venom because you would have to get Tom Hardy in it. I don't think they're going to go back to the Spider-Man 3 Venom just so things get confusing. I think they would stick to the Tom Hardy one, and I don't think, given the way Tom Hardy talked in some interviews, it doesn't seem like he had anything to do with this new movie. So I think what we have so far are the four: the Lizard, Green Goblin, Doc Ock, and Electro. So that fifth one would make sense if it's Sandman. But like I said, haven't heard much about Thomas Hayden Church being in the film. But it would make sense that he's kind of the fifth one, though. So I guess we can kind of roll with that. That's probably him. But people have also been suggesting that, he was a good guy, and definitely a good guy at the end of his film. Everyone else is a little more ambiguous. Him, it was definitely like he was a good guy. But if some people have been suggesting from the trailer that Sandman, if that is Sandman, that big dust of cloud, that big cloud of dust, it seems like he's protecting Spider-Man. It seems like he's actually helping Spider-Man. So maybe Sandman's in it, but he's actually helping Peter. That'd be kind of interesting. But he is one of the original Sinister Six, so I guess I don't really know. But I feel like it's going to be those five. But I guess if the Sandman isn't technically part of the Sinister Six, maybe they make him a good guy. They would still have another villain in there, and I guess it would make sense that it would be, I don't know, one of the Tom Holland villains. So maybe Vulture, because Michael Keaton was in the Morbius trailer, so maybe he's still a bad guy, but I guess I don't know. I feel like it depends, but I feel like more than likely maybe they would introduce a new villain here, and it would be Scorpion, because Scorpion needs a time to shine. And they could follow up on that end credit sequence. But it could also be Mysterio, because I really still don't think Jake Gyllenhaal's dead. And Jake Gyllenhaal seems to have a good camaraderie with Tom Holland. It would make sense that he would maybe want to come back for another film. And I'm not exactly sure he's dead. It would totally fit in Mysterio's character for him to not be dead, because he's like a trickster. He's good at, tricking people, doing, fake special effects to make it seem like he's dead, but he's not really dead. Even if Peter asks, is everything real right now, at the the end of that film, when he put the glasses on, I don't know. I still think he didn't die. I feel like one of them is going to be Mysterio. So we have like 6 there if you include Sandman, but I guess if Sandman technically isn't one of them, you can throw in Scorpion. Or, my biggest out there idea is the fact that Donald Glover was in Homecoming and he played the uncle to Miles Morales. Miles Morales has not been introduced to the series yet, but maybe this is the perfect time to throw him in there. They already got how many other Spider-Man in there, so maybe throw Miles Morales in there. I don't know, that would make sense to me. So that would also make sense then for Donald Glover to show up, and maybe he'll be the Prowler. Maybe he'll be one of the Sinister Six. I know a lot of people will argue with me at that point that, like, well, Prowler was never part of the Sinister Six. Or maybe he was at a later point, but I guess as far as the original... No, let me grab the book, actually. Because, there was the original Sinister Six, but they made some changes later. So obviously, like, I already know that they're not doing 100% what the original Sinister Six were, because if they were... they're already missing some people, so, so we can't really stick to this idea of, like, well, the Prowler wouldn't be one of the Sinister Six because he was never in the Sinister Six. And it's like, well, yeah, but Scorpion was never part of the original Sinister Six either. And while we're at it, I don't know if Mysterio was either, but, and actually, let me... Okay, I have the book here, so this is Volume 2 of the Complete Spider-Man. I never got any more than this, and that's really too bad. So what we have here, if you can see on that cover, so what we have is Electro, Mysterio, Vulture, Doc Ock, Sandman, and Kraven the Hunter. Okay, so what we have right now is that Electro, Sandman, and Doc Ock are alluded to in the trailer. Enough so where, even though I'm not so sure about the Sandman, I guess it would make sense. And Mysterio has been in the Tom Holland films, as well as the Vulture. Even though I thought the Vulture was good and Mysterio died, I still think Mysterio will be in it. I'm still not sure if Michael Keaton would be part of it. But the thing that throws it all off is the fact that Kraven the Hunter has not been introduced yet. And apparently Sony's making the Kraven the Hunter film with Aaron Taylor Johnson. And he's already been in the MCU, so if they end up considering that a multiverse film, I don't know how they're going to really figure out this whole, like, well, he looks like... Why does Quicksilver from our universe look like Kraven the Hunter? I don't know. So that's the original Sinister Six, but like I said, I think they could make some changes still. So a lot of ideas out there for who those other villains could be, but I think we have 4 of them for sure. Lizard, Green Goblin, Doc Ock, Electro. So I guess we'll find out as things go along, but that was a pretty good trailer. I mean, it gave me a lot to talk about and think about. I still have other theories about, the movie that's coming out. I mean, I still am wondering if, like, Emma Stone and Kirsten Dunst will be in it. I wonder if they'll try to get Rosemary Harris in it, even though she's quite old at this point. She is alive, and they maybe could fit her into the movie somehow, even as, like, a quick cameo. That would be really great. Same with, like, the original Aunt May, Sally Field from Amazing Spider-Man. They could maybe throw her in there, too. I'm wondering about some of the other ideas that were just in my head. I mean, are they going to have the whole 60s meme where they're all pointing at each other? I would assume, it would be pretty sad to miss out on doing that joke. Are they going to have, like, any cameos from, like, I don't know, will Mr. Dickovich make a cameo appearance? It's things like that. I mean, I don't think James Franco's showing up. No. But, it's mostly side characters from Spider-Man 2, because it seems like there's so many of them. I mean, will there be a Bruce Campbell appearance? I feel like he will cameo in it. I mean, it would almost make sense that he would cameo in it. I mean, he probably is making a cameo in Doctor Strange. It would almost make sense. I mean, they could almost do like a fake TV movie where, they reinterpret the Mysterio and Spider-Man fight and they make Mysterio the good guy and it's played by Bruce Campbell, like on the TV as like a quick cameo thing. I don't know. I was also wondering, like, how many characters are going to come from the multiverse? I mean, are we going to have, like, J. Jonah Jameson from Sam Raimi universe fighting with J. Jonah Jameson from the Tom Holland universe? That'd be kind of funny. And I don't know, I think there's like a lot of interesting things you could do with it, but so far it seems like a good idea. It seems like it could possibly be too much, but I guess it depends on the length of the film and what they really end up doing with some of these characters and how prominent they are. Maybe some of them will be relegated to cameos only. which wouldn't be the worst case for some of these characters. But yeah, I guess it'll be interesting. I'm very excited, especially in the future trailer if they actually show some footage of Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire. It would be cool if they save it until the movie itself, but let's get into that. Do I think it'll still come out in December? Well, the trailer said it was coming out in December 17th. Well, they also announced that they were possibly going to push back Venom even further to 2022. Is that to make room for Spider-Man? I don't know. I mean, Shang-Chi's coming out this week, and I kind of said in another video that Shang-Chi is going to probably be a deciding factor for a lot of these movies, if they'll be pushed back or not, depending on how much money that movie makes. Because that's going full theatrical, no at-home release at all, so if people want to see it, they have to go to the theater. So those numbers will be very true to what the numbers are now and what they probably will be like in December. I do not think this trailer was supposed to come out. I think they were going to show it at CinemaCon, which is mostly for theater investors anyway. It's not, and for exhibitors. It's not really for it's not like a convention for like fans. I think they were going to show some footage. I think that rough cut of the film, trailer was leaked, and then at that point they figured, well, we have to release it since we'll be showing it at this convention. We might as well show it then, or right before then, or right after then. And even though people were already predicting that was going to be the date it was released, I don't know, there was a lot of predictions of the trailer release. I do think it was not supposed to be released because they're not too confident about that date. I think they wanted to absolutely make sure it was going to actually be released in December before releasing the trailer. And plus, this movie's not going to need much marketing. I mean, the internet fan community has pretty much been doing it for them, and they know that. But I think they're worried about revealing too much about the movie beforehand if they end up having to push it back. And especially announcing a date. They didn't say around Christmas or coming soon. They did say December 17th. But like I said, I don't think this trailer was supposed to come out. I think they had to do it. And the only other reason that I know that it definitely probably wasn't supposed to come out was that there was no poster released. Usually a poster is released when the trailer is released. And there was no poster. So that tells me that they don't have a poster prepared. So that tells me that they didn't really want to release this trailer yet. But they kind of had to because someone leaked it. Some person at Sony who was maybe heard that, oh, you're not going to release the trailer? You're not going to do it? What if I do it for you? Who knows? And, there's some things in the trailer that made sense. Like, for instance, showing Alfred Molina because he had already spoiled so much about his appearance. Not really about the movie, I guess, even though people can connect the dots pretty quickly as to what's going on with the multiverse in it based on what he said. The point is that he basically only just spoiled that he is going to be in the movie. So I'm sure that's why Sony wanted to make sure he was the prominent shot, just to, make everyone aware who wasn't already aware. But also it was a great way to cap off that trailer. And also it makes sense because that's usually how they do it. They usually do one kind of smaller reveal in the first trailer, even though I won't, just for this movie, I think that will be technically a smaller reveal, even though it's a pretty big reveal still. And I think one of the later trailers will have Tobey, and a lot of people have been saying it'll probably be the second to last one. But we're only getting the second to last, or actually they said it would be the last trailer. It would show Tobey in it, or allude to Tobey. But I feel like we won't get that trailer if the movie's not coming out in December. And I think we'll find out very soon if it's coming out in December or not. Like I said, Shang-Chi comes out next week, and I think it's all lying on Shang-Chi's shoulders. If Shang-Chi doesn't do a good opening weekend, you will hear immediately that Spider-Man was pushed back, and that's going to suck. But, it'll come out eventually. The movie at least exists. We know that. So that's enough for me. Sorry this video went on so long. I had some things to say. I had some theories to say. I hope if you stuck around this long that you will let me know your own theories and what you think of mine. Thanks for watching.